Okay. First of all, tell me about yourself, your name, age, occupation, where you come from, and anything else interesting about yourself.
My name's Eliot, I'm 21 years old, Eliot Rogers. I'm originally from Bournemouth, now living in Birmingham, where I study medicine at the university. I'm also a part-time Royal Marine reservist, and just a bit of a dick really, but overall a passionate young individual about life, doing the Camino for some strange reason.
Okay. So, when did you first hear about the Camino, and what were your impressions when you first heard about it? Why did you decide that you wanted to walk it?
First heard about the Camino a week and a half before I started.
Oh, really?
Yes, when I got my exam results, found I'd passed, was given a 5-week holiday with only a week and a half's notice, and I'd very, very loosely heard of the Camino because I enjoy a bit of hiking myself. Mm-hmm. But my ma actually mentioned, she was like, you could always do this. It was a bit more of a relatively budget holiday compared to me shooting off halfway around the world. Mm-hmm. And combined with the fact that for me my third year of study was a bit strenuous, just a tad. I thought it'd be a good little escape from it all. So a week and a half later I was in St John.
Brilliant.
Plodding on really, yeah.
So, why are you walking the Camino? Do you have a story about your reason for walking the Camino?
For me, I think during my last year, I've had a lot of wobbles in life and stuff, and both in my kind of directional course in terms of, do I want to do medicine, do I still want to be in the Marines, do I want to do medicine and Marines as a combination career, so those kind of wobbles. Other kind of wobbles in terms of my life's direction. Do I actually get a kick-off ambition, or do I just do it because I think I should, and should I just slum it off for a few years, and all of these things really. So I felt that 5 weeks of walking would really give me the time I needed to properly clear my head and just gain a bit more of a better condor moment and a better perspective on my life, and kind of take it all from there really.
Okay. So, where did you start, and how many days have you been walking?
So, it is 2 weeks today for me. Okay. I started from St John Pied de Port, and we are now in... we'll be a problem with these small Spanish rural towns, but we will be in Leon hopefully tomorrow night, which is the only thing that I'm really thinking about. All the little towns seem to do endlessly merge into one. So I've been going for 2 weeks, haven't had a rest day yet, as my feet will bear testament to, but I don't really feel like I need one mentally or physically for the most part.
Mm-hmm. So I don't need to ask this question, it is your first Camino. Okay. Next question is, what are your hopes and dreams? What do you hope to achieve by walking the Camino?
So for me, that condor moment and just a lot more clarity going into my next year of study. At the end of your third year of study, you are allowed to leave medical school with a degree in medical sciences.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
So it's a 5-year degree, which leaves you with a Bachelor of Medicine and a Bachelor of Surgery. So it's a joint degree, so you get 2 degrees in 5 years. But at the end of your third year, you can just leave with a Bachelor of Medical Sciences, which would be useful, but I won't be a doctor.
For what is it useful for?
Well, it's just a degree, isn't it?
Oh, okay.
And again, it's a medical sciences degree, so any kind of field for sciencey stuff, you clearly have like a bit of an eye for. So you can leave with that, and I very nearly did. And I decided to continue through into year 4, but I thought during this 5 weeks, I just wanted to have the utmost clarity that that's what I want to do, because if I leave at the end of year 4, I will still leave with that medical sciences degree, and I've had an extra year of my life spent. I'd be in more debt and I would not gain anything from it. So essentially it's either leave now or go through and become a doctor with it all. So I feel like I'm going to go through with it, but I wanted that absolute clarity in my mind on that. On a separate aspect, not currently religious, I am agnostic. And I've got one of my flatmates, a very good friend of mine, is a very strong Christian believer, not like a radical one or anything, but he's just very passionate about his faith and stuff. And I figured that, if I'm cutting about for 5 weeks, just mooching along and going to a lot of churches, I might have some absolute epiphany and some glorious spiritual insight I might not. Be like a little cherry on the cake, really. If I do find the utmost like elements of the human being and stuff inside of me, but sod knows really. I might leave it with nothing and just a mutilated toe or something. It's all a bit of a gamble. On another note, I was hoping to lose some weight doing this trip, but as I sit here at breakfast just eating chocolate muffins, and I swear I have like 4 fucking Madalenas a day and stuff. It's I've lost nothing, which I do entirely blame myself for, but then I justify it by saying that if you get stranded in the middle of nowhere on the Camino, and you've got to walk like another 10k and you're hungry, you could get eaten by wolves at the end of the day. So it's really, those maxi bonds are really going to fuel me through for this trip. So yeah, I'm not really reaping the physical rejuvenation that I hear people bat on about with the Camino. It's more like a physical disintegration. But yeah.
So, aside from that, how do you feel about your experience of walking the Camino so far?
I feel good. I feel very good. It's been very enjoyable. I haven't actually thought that much about the medical stuff, which has been a kind of blessing and a bit of a curse. A blessing in the sense that I've had a break from it all. A bit of a curse in the sense that I still feel no more clarity than when I started, but I'm only halfway through, so there's that. I've had some more clarity on what I'm next going to get tattooed onto my body, because I'm very passionate about that. I had a little epiphany the other night after a few bottles of wine, and I was just lying in bed and I was like, that's it, I know what my next tattoo is going to be. It's going to get on the side of my thigh, and it's going to be Jack Skellington, the Pumpkin King from The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to get a big fucking long one just banged on the side of my thigh. And a few nights ago when I was lying in bed, I was like, yes, you know what, that is a fucking awesome bit of ink. And 2 or 3 days later, I still think it would be an awesome bit of ink. So at least that's one little insight I've had out of it. And then, like, on another note, when I went into a rural church, really, really rural church at the top of the hill, like 4 or 5 days ago, I did have this kind of feeling. Don't know how, I guess like people would kind of describe it as faith. I don't know, like I just went to the church and I was just overcome with just something. And I got that again recently in Burgos in the cathedral. And I was like, oh, that's very interesting. Never had that before. Could be like I'm going like down in my fucking head or something, but either way, I was like, oh, that's something for consideration for the future. So that's another little insight. And then what other things? And just the food generally, I feel it's been a bit of an experience. These little wrappered cakes are so disgusting because they are so processed, but at the same time they're so Moorish and delicious that I've eaten, I'd say in the region of 3 to 5 of them a day.
Seriously?
Yeah, as snacks. I like the variety that you can get. I haven't really had the same one twice, although they do one that's like a fucking chocolate tortilla thing. And it's filled with cream. They're pretty good.
Oh, I've had that.
Yeah. I had 4 of those for breakfast one morning. They were like, yeah, do you want hot toast? And I was like, nah, mate, just a coffee and these 4 processed pieces. So yeah, and we rented a little apartment in Burgos as a group, and as like a little welcome gift, this lady just left out 6 tiny little cakes. And when I posed the question, it was like, I don't know, it was have like a habit if I want an answer out of a question, I kind of pose it in quite a manipulative way. And I was just stood there and I'd laid them out on the table and I was just leaning next to them and I was like, does anyone want one of these cakes? Given like absolute evil. And everyone was like, no, you have them. And I was like, cheers mate. And that was it. I saved them for breakfast, and then at breakfast I didn't even sit down. I just stood at the table, unwrapped them and just scrounged them all and then fucked off really. So yeah.
So, do you think you might come back and walk the Camino again?
I'll tell you, if I have my toes amputated, I might do, because it'd be a lot easier then, less dramas. As it currently stands, yeah, I probably would. Certainly segments of it. I feel for me it's unlikely in my coming career to have a window big enough to walk the whole Camino again, unless I do some fucking crazy thing and run it or something in 2 weeks. With someone like taking my bag through to the next point.
So it'd be impossible for you to get more than 2 weeks holiday as a doctor?
Certainly while you're a junior doctor, yeah. Maybe like 15 years down the line. Yeah, 15. Potentially, yeah.
Okay.
Fuck me.
You'll still be fit enough at 36.
I'd hope so. But we'll see. I'm still sat out there smoking cigarettes at 36. So I'll have a little reflection on myself and be like, a bit naughty that, innit? No, so I think I could do the Camino again. At the same time, there's a lot of long distance hikes that you can do, which are meant to be very good. In the same way the Camino is.
Why not in Scotland?
Exactly. Is that the Pennine Way or is it Pennine Way?
No, it's in England.
Is that what, England? Fuck 'em. What's it matter? Yeah. And
it's the West Highland
That's
Way.
one. Yeah, my granddad's told me about that. My granddad is Scottish. Very, very proud of those Scottish roots. But yeah, no, West Highland Way. Yeah. Anyway, so like, I'll probably do something different purely because I like a bit of variety. And you know, what's the point in getting a second Compostela certificate? You know, it's just going to make my wall even more crowded. Because you know, every single certificate I get does inevitably goes up on a wall. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like, I've got some fucking certificates saying I attended like a 2-hour workshop on heart attacks, and I'm like, right, it's going on my fucking wall. You know, it was compulsory, and I had to go, but they give you a little certificate.
Any room left on your wall?
No, my mum loves it as well. If I have one that I don't want on the wall, she's like, oh, can I keep it? And I'm like, of course you can, Mum. You fucking knock yourself out. She's got loads. She has so many little certificates that are completely arbitrary and worthless. Just good pieces of paper. And, you know, she's all over it, so yeah.
So you've kind of answered this, but I'm still going to ask you again. Have you had any realizations, epiphanies, or spiritual experiences on the Camino?
Yeah, I'd say I would describe it as a spiritual experience because I'm still trying to get my head around what it actually was. Because, like, in the context of the Christian faith, I'm agnostic, and half the stuff in the Bible I just read it and I'm like, nah, mate, that's not really what I'm about. So I feel like it wouldn't fit with me. At the same time, I'm kind of like, I would like to believe that it's not as black and white as you are initially led to believe, and of course there is the whole air of,
there's lots of people,
you know, denominations and interpretations of it. So it's something that I will look into more when I get home and have a little chat about and stuff. So I've had a little epiphany as such about that. And then for like my actual life and my career, nothing much. I've realised that I'm not as fit as I used to be. Having walked this now already, yeah, I'm losing it at 21. It's going downhill. People say 20 is the best years of your life. And I'm like, no, mate, I'm fucking dying. Jen, I'll be gone by 26 at this rate. The rate I'm deteriorating. My flowers are going to live longer than I am. Yeah.
So, what are your impressions of the other pilgrims on the Camino, and was there anyone like really special that made an impact on you?
So yeah, there's been a few special people I've been travelling with. I met a French man called, the pronunciation is very off, it's Olivier, not to be confused with Olivia. He's a bloke. That's the one, yeah. And we met 8 days ago. We spoke like a mixture of French and English, both very poorly, to each other, and yet still managed to have a conversation. I think what sealed the deal was we met going into Logrono, and then we got there, we had lunch together and a little beer, and then I took my blister plasters off and he was just laughing at my feet. I was laughing at my feet as well at that point because it fully hadn't bedded in how completely fucked they were. And then we went out for dinner, basically just got pretty steamed, which obviously is the best way to bond with another human being, in my opinion. All that energies and the spiritualness, and it's just a bottle of red wine, mate, and you are golden. And then he found it pretty amusing when I came back to the hostel steaming, and I was just plucking my blisters open in the middle of the bathroom, just on the floor, like over the little drainage hole. And he was well special. I decided I had to depart him last night because he is injured. He is also an old man. He's 40 years old.
You're not allowed to say things like that.
Oh, I can. He's old compared to me. So sadly we had to depart, and then the girls that I'm travelling with now, including Katrina, who has been interviewed, are very special individuals. And then just general pilgrims is quite interesting. It's a very mixed bag. There's far more Koreans and Americans than I expected, and not enough Brits.
Yeah, hardly
I've seen very, very few Brits. The Koreans I'm finding are a very, very mixed bag. Some of them are very smiley, very happy. I've noticed that the majority of them don't carry their rucksack, which I find unusual. and I do find some of them to be very inconsiderate in hostels, but you know, in the spirit of being not a cunt on the Camino, I haven't actually shouted at anyone yet. It's been like 2 weeks and I haven't gotten angry at anyone, which I think is a new record for me. At home I've got not a bad habit, but if someone says a stupid question or something very stupid, I will just mock them and mug them for it. So, you know, it's been quite a calming little 2 weeks actually. At the same time, I can tell it's building up, and when I get home, someone's going to cut me up in a car, and that is going to be it. You know, their day will be ended at that point. So the Americans I find they've been very nice actually. Quite a lot of college students doing this trip, which was surprising. I think it's a really good college trip to do actually. You know, certainly I wish I'd been given the opportunity to do this when I was like as a group of mates. And you know, they're art students, some of them, and they do like a daily reading in the evening and stuff after they've done the walk. And that means you've got the whole day just to do a bit of reading while you walk, think about it all. I think it's a really good idea. I'd like to see that come to the UK a little bit more, really. But then again, of course, it is impractical. It's 5 weeks long, or even doing segments of it could work. But yeah.
Okay, so have you heard any stories in the Camino? By that I mean, you know, stories of other pilgrims, their background stories, anything that's made a really deep impression on you?
Yeah. So this French guy who I was with for 8 days, Eliot, he conversations are all very broken, but the general gist, which he leaked to me over a few days, is that his dad has brain cancer. He phones him every single day without fail for like at least an hour, and then he is currently unemployed. He left work because he was a methamphetamine addict.
Okay.
And like, you know, like just stuff like that. And basically he's walked all the way, he started last year at Le Puy in France, and he did 500 kilometres, had to stop due to a tendonitis in his knee, and then picked up where he stopped last year for this year. So he's already done something ridiculous like 800 or 900 odd K this year alone. He started in Condom in France, which did tickle.
Condom?
Yeah, well he pronounced it like Condor. And I was like, oh, like it's like condor or something, isn't it? And then he showed me on the map, and I was like, oh no, it's actually spelled condom. But you know, and then trying to explain that in broken French to him, he was like, what is it? And I was like, and I knew that a rucksack is le sac, and I think penis is penny, so I was like, yeah, it's like a le sac full of pen. And he was like, I could see it, like it took him a short while, being like, what, a penis rucksack? And I then had to like mime it out, and eventually I think he got the gist. So
you got the jizz.
Yeah. So you know, so we had that. So yeah, and you know, he was saying that he was basically doing it both to get closer to God, and also just to like reset his life. Because I think he was telling me like, just over coffee and stuff, out of nowhere, you just Google Translate in, and he'd just say something like, life is short, like don't waste it, or life passes quickly, don't let it fly by. And I could tell that he, you know, he's coming up for 40 years old, and he basically regrets a lot of his choices. And I think he's doing the Camino to kind of reset his mental clock more than anything else, and just to then go forwards and make the most out of, you know, his next few years and his family and everything. He's not married or got any kids either, so I think he's like realised he's coming up for 40, and you know, time is ticking on really. But he's a lovely guy, so I'm very confident he will meet someone eventually. So you know, so that's probably the biggest story that stuck out for me.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, is there a special place in the Camino for you so far?
For me, it's Burgos Cathedral, 100%. I didn't know it was a Gaudi cathedral, I had no idea. And I just got in there and I was absolutely amazed. I would say for me it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. I would actually say it was more beautiful than the entire Vatican City, which, you know, people are like, that's the big holy grail of churches and stuff. And no, for me, like that Gaudi Cathedral, it's just the pure like detail that was present everywhere you looked, even where it wasn't necessary. I'd say, you know, like you could have done that cathedral like 4 times round, and you'd see something new every single time. That was the level. Did you go?
I only went into the bit outside with the 2 chapels.
Yeah.
I thought they were really lovely. I just wanted to sit with not being a touristy part. Go into the main part.
No, it was really good. Yeah, of course it's touristy, but
worth
same time. I felt like it was.
Next time I'll go.
So that really stuck out to me. And then they had like a lovely exhibit.
You said it's a Gaudi cathedral?
Yeah, didn't know that.
Seriously?
Yes.
So it's relatively modern?
Yeah.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
And then they had like this kind of big downstairs, like a kind of really well done photographic lit up model display of the one in Barcelona, the
Sagrada Cathedral.
That one,
Familiar,
which I've never seen in the flesh.
Oh, I have. But it was only halfway finished.
Yeah, well,
it's amazing.
Yeah,
absolutely fucking amazing.
Well,
I wonder what it'd be
this
like
exhibit
now.
was incredible. I was looking around it and I was like, that's very different from the Burgos Cathedral. Obviously, the Burgos Cathedral is very like Gothic style, classical cathedral, but like a better one. It's like a cathedral on steroids. Whereas that Barcelona Cathedral is like a cathedral on like something else.
It's
like,
amazing, absolutely amazing.
And then I was chatting to my stepdad, and he was like, "Yeah, you know, it's never ever going to be finished." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Because apparently, they've worked out by the time they finish building it, they'll have to start regeneration work on the stuff at the bottom. So essentially, it will never ever not have scaffolding on it." Allegedly, because they're just gonna have to fucking regenerate the whole fucking thing. 'Cause it's taken too long.
I heard it was when I went to see it in 1984.
Yeah. Oh fucking hell.
When I was young.
Yeah. Back in the day.
Back in the day.
Well, they invented colour TV at that point.
Yeah, they had. They didn't have phones like this, though. And I climbed up the spiral staircase right up to the top. It was it was the hardest thing I've ever climbed in my life because they got arches on both sides, and on the inside it just goes down into infinite, what looks like infinite nothingness.
Yeah.
And on the other side is the outside world, and you're walking between the two as you go up this spiral. And even though it'd be quite hard to fall through those arches, you'd have to curl up into a ball to roll yourself out. It still gives you the most incredible sense of vertigo.
Oh, really? Have you ever climbed the Leaning Tower of Pisa?
No, I haven't.
That is a fucking aneurysm to climb.
Is it?
Because like it's actually on the wonk. And you can feel it when you climb up the stairs, because like when you like at halfway points, when you climb up, you're either climbing up like just quite steep or quite shallow stairs. When you're going sideways up some stairs, like people are like leaning against walls, like walking up and they lean the other way. You're like, am I like climbing this cathedral, this tower with a bunch of monks? And then you realise you're doing it as well, and you're like, right. So you know, like. Yeah, right. I reckon those Italians get like a proper little creasing off watching that. They probably have CCTV in the stairwell now. Like, yeah, look at these nonces. Can't even walk up a set of fucking stairs.
So, there's a point in the Camino called the Cruz de Ferro, right? And you're supposed to bring a stone that either represents your burdens or it represents something that you want to offer. Yes. Have you brought a stone, and what does it represent for you?
Fucking right, I have. Yeah. My stone, no word of a lie. I would get it out my bag, but it's buried deep. It needs to be for structural reasons, because it is genuinely bigger than my fist. It is fucking enormous. I don't know why. I started that walking from St John in the evening, and I'd like literally just walked out the village, and I was like, oh god, I must find my stone for the cruise. And I was like, oh, this fucking boulder on the side of the road. I was like, yeah, that'll do. So I was like well confused. I was like, yeah, it's an extra big one. I was like, all of my fucking sins are going to get absolved with that bad boy. I'll probably have like room to spare. I'd be like, anyone else need any sins going, because like this rock can hold fucking loads. So I carried that, and it weighs over 1 kilo, and it's still in my bag. So that's getting put there, and that is for, I don't know, I feel like, not for sins necessarily, but I just feel like I made some mistakes in my life, things that I would do differently. Nothing, thankfully, major that keeps me up significantly at night, but certainly rash little comments that I've said to people, or people who necessarily don't understand the British sense of humour and take offence to something that I've said without me meaning to, and just little things like that where I try and like shape, you know, my progression of being a person and stuff naturally, as you should do. So I'm kind of carrying a stone for that, and then I'm also carrying a stone for someone else.
Oh, it's a separate stone.
Separate stone, yeah. This one not so big, thankfully. This is like a normal sized person's stone. I didn't realise that everyone carries pebbles. Like, so I'd put a rock, and for me, like,
two last year.
yeah, I'll get a proper rock. Anyway, this pebble is I met another Brit, way, first one I've met, called Sally from Wiltshire, lovely lady, bit older. She'd done 20 years in the army, so we just immediately got on quite well, got chatting, and it emerged that her daughter has a rare disease called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It's a connective tissue disorder. I think her daughter's in her early teens, and is in and out of hospital continuously, very, very sick. And she was saying that she's took this holiday now because it's like a brief moment where her daughter's not sick, so she can go, but she said she can only do like a week or 2 weeks. And she asked if I would carry this stone all the way there on behalf for her daughter. So I've got that in my rucksack too. And I was like, cheers, that's it.
Yeah.
Another stone. I was like, brilliant. Anyone else want me to carry their fucking stones? But yeah. So I'm looking forward to the cruise, both from a spiritual point of view, and then also because my rucksack is just going to get lighter, and I'm going to be like, way.
Yeah.
I might dump everything out of that rucksack at the cruise. I'll leave the tent behind. I'll leave my boots behind. I'll just dump the full works there. Just walk it into Santiago with a water bottle and like a couple of cakes. Yeah.
So my mate Keith told me 20 years ago, when he told me about the Camino de Santiago, that the legend is that you'll find your true love on the Camino. Now I believed him. Since subsequently I've been asking, have you heard this legend? And nobody yet has. So I'm going to ask you, have you heard this legend?
I've not heard this legend. I'll be honest with you, if I met my true love on the Camino, I'd be pretty fucking amazed, because I personally, when I look for a missus, I like someone who's a bit more stable than I am. Because if there's someone like me doing the Camino, which is who I would probably meet, because I'm not with boring people or people that are slow, or people who are a bit more ecstatic. I think the whole world would just crumble essentially. You know, like, I need a bit more of a foundation in that. So like, I've got a miss at the moment who is almost certainly not the one, but we're still together and it's going all right. But I was like, oh, do you want to do the Camino? She was like, no, not a fucking chance. And I was like, what are you going to do instead? And she was like, I'm just gonna chill my beans, watch a bit of TV. It's like a new season on Netflix, and I was like, that's fucking fine then, isn't it? You crack what you fucking want. But then she fucking texted me and she was like, oh, I wish you were here. And I'm like, well,
I wish you were here.
I would say I wish she was here, but that would make the walking even more excruciatingly painful than it already is. Like, so, you know, I think I'd be bleeding my brains out my ears if I had to talk to her for 5 weeks non-stop.
So that's not your true love.
No, we struggle with anything more than half an hour of just gentle conversation. You know, like going to dinner, if the food's taken a long time, it's a real fucking minefield before I go massively off kilter and we start talking about some kind of atrocious conversational topic, like what I've seen today in a hospital, in a restaurant full of people. You know, I can't maintain dignified conversation for as long as I would like, per se.
I hope you meet her. This woman with a heart of gold and feet in the earth.
Yeah.
Eliot, thank you very much.
No worries. It's a
right,
pleasure.
let me just